Hey guys, each of us has probably questioned the truthfulness of the words, "Money can't buy you happiness." We read stories about millionaires trying to see what's so special about them, to find the key to their happiness and prosperity. But it turns out that these stories are all very simple, as they don't actually teach us how to earn money, but rather tell us about completely different things. Between the lines of these stories, we learn that money is just a means to achieving a goal, but never the goal itself. Many people might probably disagree with that. But at the same time, they have to agree that money can only buy physical things, such as beautiful cars or houses, but they can't buy friends, family, love, wisdom. And that's exactly what our story today is about. I recently read it online. It all began with one man telling his story. I grew up in a fairly wealthy family. My father had his own business, a car repair shop, and my mother worked as a chief doctor at a local hospital. We were never in need of money in my childhood. And since I was only a child, my parents spoiled me from an early age, buying me cool clothes, newest phones, and other expensive things. They were using money to compensate for their absence in my life. They were always busy with work and rarely spent any time with me. I didn't really care about it at the time, as long as I had expensive stuff to show off to my peers. To be honest, I always liked the special attention that I was getting. I felt like I had a lot of friends because I was so cool. But many years later, I finally realized that I was growing up a very selfish person who only valued money and being able to show off. I enjoyed seeing others envy me, and I used it. My life went accordingly to the same plan as many people in my situation live by. My parents helped me get into a medical college, which I probably wouldn't have been able to do on my own. But I didn't care at the time. That's when my wealthy life got even wilder. Expensive brands, endless parties with elite alcohol, night races in a car, which I got for my 16th birthday, one-night stands, and always skipping classes. That's only one little part of my college life. It's no wonder I got expelled junior year. This news obviously came as a shock to my family. For the first time in many years, I saw all the pain and disappointment I caused my parents by not living up to their hopes, being an ungrateful spender. But I didn't care about that either at the time. To be honest, I knew they would take care of me, so I didn't feel like I needed to worry about anything. But as it turned out, things weren't exactly the way I saw them. One day, my father asked me to join him at the dinner table. I remember that I didn't really want to come out of my room, so I acted as if I was doing him a huge favor. I could have never guessed what was about to happen. My father looked at my mother and said, "Son, today is your second birthday." I remember getting excited thinking I was going to get yet another cool gift, but I was very wrong. My father continued, "Your mother and I have decided to stop paying for your life. From now on, you need to take responsibility for your own life and learn the value of money." At first, I thought it was some kind of a joke, but soon I was back in my hometown with an empty wallet, no friends, no connections, no education. I don't think I need to tell you what I was feeling at the time. Being used to the rich life and getting cut off. The desire to keep up the appearance of a wealthy person motivated me to look for a job. After searching for a while, looking for a better opportunity, I was barely able to get a job as a waiter at a local restaurant. And instead of being a local celebrity, I had to learn to work hard. Yes, I was very tired, and sometimes I did feel very sorry for myself. But most of the time, I managed to earn good money. Regular customers gave generous tips, which were a decent addition to my main income. Since I lived with my parents, I didn't have to spend money on housing and food, so I could spend all my earnings on myself. I signed up for a gym, bought myself nice clothes and shoes, and lived like that for months. Sure, my standard of living wasn't exactly as before, but I could still make an impression of a rather wealthy guy. So, a couple of months went by like this, and then I met a beautiful girl named Jessica. A petite, long-legged brunette instantly stole my heart. We met at a restaurant where I worked as an administrator. I got a promotion. Jessica came to have dinner with her friend, and we stayed together from that day on. I was captivated by her sense of humor, love of life, and sweet naivety. The rest was the same as with everyone else. Soon, Jessica found out that she was pregnant, and we moved in with my parents. Now I had to provide for our little family, not just myself. And when our son was born, our expenses kept growing with him. I was thinking about what else I could do, and decided to start driving a taxi as a night job. We lived in a resort town, so we had many tourists from other cities, and even countries. So one could make good money driving a taxi. I spent half the day working at the restaurant, and then I went on to drive the taxi until midnight. You might think that I made decent money and had some savings, but no. I spent most of the money on myself. Same as before, Yet another expensive watch, expensive cologne, barbershop visits twice a month, a couple suits and shoes to match them. I didn't change my habits. I didn't care that I was a simple worker and that my wife was home with our small child. She couldn't even remember the last time she got a manicure or bought a new dress. I didn't care, as long as I had all I was used to. Time went by. I considered myself to be successful. My appearance just screamed of it. But my wife and my 2-year-old son, with whom I never spent more than 2 hours per day, always remained in the shadows, and it probably would have stayed like this forever. And this long story of my life could have no meaning if it weren't for one quick meeting that completely changed me. Working as a taxi driver, I already had my own client base, and most of them were rich. One day, I was driving a businessman's son, from whom I could sometimes get up $100 in tips. I was happy and considered myself very successful. It was all until one day, I got to take that same businessman to the airport. That day, I was sure I'd get a great tip, but instead, I only got $1, and what will later turn out to be the most important lesson of my life. I remember barely being able to hide my discontent, but it was one question that bothered me the most. Why did the millionaire only tip me $1? Plucking up my courage, I decided to at least hint about it to him. You know, I often drive your son, and I even drove him yesterday. He always tips me $100. I could have never expected what would happen next. The businessman turned to me and replied, "What did you expect? My son's father is a millionaire, but my father was a simple fisherman." But that wasn't it. Seeing my confusion, the millionaire continued the conversation. "Let me take this opportunity to tell you a story. It might help you. Once, when he was already a billionaire, Henry Ford came to England on business. He asked about the cheapest hotel to stay in town at the airport information desk. The clerk looked at him. Ford's face was famous, as newspapers around the world wrote about him frequently. And there he was, wearing a raincoat that seemed to be older than Ford himself, asking about the cheapest hotel. The clerk asked with uncertainty, "You're Mr. Henry Ford, if I'm not mistaken?" "Yes," he replied. The clerk couldn't hide his surprise. "I follow the news, and I know that whenever he travels, your son always stays at the best hotels and is always dressed in expensive clothes, and you're asking for the cheapest hotel and are wearing a coat that seems to be about your age. So, are you trying to ask me why he's acting rich and I'm not? I guess there's something I don't understand. It's all very simple. My son is still young. He's just starting to live his life. He hasn't achieved anything yet, so he's trying to make an impression. But why should I do it? Even in an old coat in a cheap hotel, I'm still Henry Ford." When my client got out of the car, I couldn't come to my senses for a while. I felt pathetic. I kept driving around the town that night, thinking about his words. He was right. I spent all my life trying to impress others, instead of simply enjoying my life. I forgot about what was important, the health and happiness of my parents, my wife and son, enjoying the minutes we spend together and seeing the beauty in the little things. Instead, I kept taking out loans to buy beautiful cars and expensive clothes. So why am I telling you this story? It's been several years since that fateful night. I got rid of my old habits and expensive things. We invested all the money into a small business, which we're working on together with my wife. Our son is already a teenager. We teach him to value money. Even though we have our own house now, we don't indulge our son. If he wants something, he needs to buy it himself, either earn the money or save his pocket money. I stopped caring about money so much, and now I prefer to spend more time with family and friends. And you know what? I feel much better. I finally realized what's worth living for and how to raise my children. I think it's all thanks to that man from the taxi who managed to change my life with just one phrase, and I'm so grateful to him for that. He didn't just give me $1. He gave me something no money could ever buy. So, guys, that's the story. I don't know if it really happened, but I think each of us will find something important in it. And if so, it was worth telling. So, what do you think? What's most important in life? Be sure to let me know what you think in the comment section. That's it for today. Rate this video if you liked it, and see you soon. Bye!